Action.
Okay, we're hot. We're live. We're doing it.
Try to guess who this is.
This is Sammy.
It's bad. Welcome everybody down the line. Surf Talk Radio. It is February 6th. And I'm Scott Bass along with David Lee Scales. Yeah, friggin' guy. David's just looking at me with the look of disdain and disgust.
I'm just confused. I'm trying my best to identify. Is there some clue that I should indicate me?
These are pro surfers from San Clemente.
Oh, this is the Goodangs for sure. Yeah. The positive vibe warriors.
Right. That is Tanner Godauskas and probably Dane and Patrick too. I don't know.
When you say it's a band from San Clemente, what do you mean by band?
It's a very loosely defined term.
Is that from a YouTube video? Like,
no, somehow or another I have it on. I don't know. They either sent it to me or I'm not even sure how I got it. But it's just some like rough cut that they did.
They only make rough cuts.
Right, exactly.
It's like in the tradition of the jam band, they just get together, not in a studio.
It's called Sammy and the Boys. Their band, or they're called Dead Ponies, that song Sammy and the Boys. Apparently there must be some local kid at T Street that's name is Sammy.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, I've had that on my iTunes for like 10 years.
Oh, that long?
I think so, yeah.
Well, it's not even in Shazam's archives because I thought you were going to give me an actual like professional music group as the intro, so I pushed Shazam, and then I could
cheating.
and then I could act like I know everything about music and identify who the band is, what the album is, all that sort of stuff.
Right.
But I failed. Shazam failed me, actually. I like to shift the blame. So, Scott.
Yes.
Good to see you, dude.
Yes, it is Monday.
February
6th. February.
Here we are, Surfing Heritage and Culture Center, amidst a ton of periodicals splayed out on the floor and the table. Yeah,
they're doing some sort of archival work here with Surfer Magazine, Surfing Magazine. All magazines, photos.
I mean, seriously, there's hundreds of magazines laying about. I'll photograph it and post it on Surf Splendor's Instagram account in a few minutes. In the middle of one of Scott's talks. So I like to be distracted at the same time and do a lot of multiple things, you know?
Wow.
Pull out the selfie stick.
By the way,
Scott.
It looks as if you slept in your car.
I know. So 10 minutes ago, Scott's like, just looks at me with complete sincerity. I thought he was going to like tell me that he's recently got a bad diagnosis from the doctor or something, and then he looks at me and just goes, "Did you sleep in your car last night?"
David is not shaven. He has a wrinkled white t-shirt on.
Do you iron
the chop
your
hop looks a little greasy and it's laying flat. It's not its normal self.
Oh man. I mean, I had high self-esteem until you and I started hanging out, and now it's just deflated.
Oh, that's not. I'm sorry. I apologize.
Although I would like to take a photo of us side by side, because I would argue you've put less thought into your look today than I. With your beanie on, he's got the Putin t-shirt on.
I've got a t-shirt with Vladimir Putin riding a bear.
That's so funny.
There's nothing greater.
By the way, one of my favorite Instagram accounts to follow is Look at This Russian. Have you ever seen that?
No, but I'm gonna.
I'll tag you in it. It's amazing. Everybody wants to check it out. Look at This Russian, and it just shows, Russia is insane, of course, and like crazy things happen. They have like the craziest dash cam footage. Just they love Adidas for some reason. Like everybody's wearing a tracksuit that matches the Adidas kicks. Anyway, it's a hilarious account that shows the most Russian of Russian things. So check that out. For your non-surf related info. I got a couple of follow-up topics before we get into the show.
Yeah.
One of them is actually a comment that was left on iTunes under my podcast, Surf Splendor. You can rate and review the show, and I always recommend that people do because it helps other people to find the show. Like when you rate it in iTunes, it boosts your ranking, and obviously your ranking, but also the availability of people finding the show. Like they start typing the word surf, mine will pop up first if I have more ratings than the Surf Simply guys who have a podcast in Costa Rica or whatever,
right.
you know? So anyways, I have 100 ratings, and this is one of the recent reviews on January 19th.
How many ratings do I have? Sorry for interrupting.
I don't
know. You know? I thought you said you knew.
We checked recently. I forget what the number is now, but
so I need more ratings on.
Yeah, rate and review down the line as well.
Yeah.
So this guy's name is DCP10. He said, "Surf news is entertaining, witty, smart, savvy, so smooth and clean like iced cream. Imagine Surfer's Journal and Beach Grit wrapped into a savory submarine sandwich delicacy delivered digitally. Maybe a weekly delivery? Thanks again, guys. You. New Tribes albums, dope. Peace. I'm out like R. Kelly, so jelly of tacos and ticos and trunks and Indo. Too, sometimes maybe. Yeah, sweets. Thanks, guys. Cool. Later.
Okay, that didn't go over well on the radio. I'm not sure exactly.
No, it doesn't make sense at all, actually. It went over exactly like it did when I read it. The first paragraph is very flattering. The second one is just riffing on musicians that he likes. So...
All right.
Do you have any emails or any follow-up?
Yeah, I do. I got a couple of emails. One from our friend Benjamin. He says, "Hey, Scott, huge fan of the Surf Splendor podcast. Whenever I see that, I think to myself, okay, they don't know that Down the Line exists. Like, everybody's listening through your distribution outlet."
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I bet you are.
It doesn't matter at all, actually. There's no...
It hurts my ego a little.
Well, there you go.
Ben says, "I'm getting married on August 19th and looking to take our honeymoon for 2 weeks, August 21st. I'm looking to find a really fun place to surf where my fiance can cruise on the beach, but still has a lot of other activities for us to do. Yeah, it's your honeymoon, bro. I am really leaning towards Bali, but not sure where to go, stay, surf. Do you have any insight on Bali? Do you know of any other places that would be great for me to surf and also for my non-surfing fiance? Thanks, Ben." Well, my first take on that is Costa Rica. Costa Rica is a killer place for a honeymoon. There's tons of stuff to do. You can go to volcanoes. You can do whitewater rafting. You can, of course, cruise along the beach, check out the rainforest. There's a bunch of really good zip lining. So the Costa Rica, and of course the surf's great. So yeah. Costa Rica to me is a no-brainer honeymoon. It's inexpensive and it's beautiful.
Depending on where he's located, if he's in America, that's an easy option.
I think way better than Bali. Like, to me, Bali's done.
Is it?
It's super crowded, man.
Yeah.
Bali's, if you plan, like if you're staying in Canggu and want to go to say Gila or Uluwatu or the Point,
yeah,
unless you leave at 6:30 in the morning, it's what should be a 30-minute drive is a 2-hour drive. It's just so crowded, man.
I've never been.
Bali was good in 1978, not
right.
so much in 2017.
It's just that the waves look so incredible,
Well, they are. Once you're there, you're stoked, but it's getting around the island that's just a huge headache.
Yeah. Well, I would second that Costa Rican thing. I've done that a handful of times, and the only, I guess, caveat, the only thing I've ever done there is surf and stay near the beach. I haven't actually been inland and done like the rainforest, zip lining, and all that other stuff that you can do. But obviously people do.
Oh, it's killer.
Yoga
I've done it.
retreats and all that sort of stuff. So yeah.
Super good.
Yeah, warm weather, warm water.
Warm everything. Warm people.
Yeah, totally.
A warm... the currency is warm.
Yeah. The
exchange rate is what I meant to say.
The last couple of times I've gone, I've stayed in Playa Negra at Real Surf Trips. For the listener, if he wants to check that out, I think it's realsurftrips.com or something like that. They've got a house at Playa Negra right in front of the spot, which is a pretty sick, reef point break.
Super fun.
Yeah. So, and there's a bunch of other waves. There's sick beach breaks nearby, and they organize everything. So that would be an.
I honeymooned in Costa Rica at Playa Negra. Yeah, it was one of the places that we stayed.
Oh, yeah. How about that?
Yeah.
Follow Scott's path.
Benjamin. So thanks, Ben. That's what our suggestion is, Costa Rica.
Very cool.
I got another one here.
Yeah,
from another man named Ben. This guy, Ben Spencer, a longtime listener.
Oh, I know Ben Spencer.
Yeah, you know Ben Spencer.
He's our resident
English expert.
grammar.
Yeah, he hates our grammar.
Yeah.
I'm sure we're going to...
By the way, he has multiple errors in this email, by the way.
Oh, you read this?
I'm going to call it out. Yeah, but go ahead. You read it.
Okay, so Scott and David, I hope you two are well. I'm still thoroughly enjoying the podcast, although I might a bit late.
See? I might a bit late.
What does that mean?
He meant I might be a bit late.
I'd like to throw my board into the ring for the proposed surf trip. Okay, so Ben wants to go with us on our surf trip.
I've got like 5 people that have RSVP'd unofficially.
Being UK-based, I'd probably have to travel a fair bit, but we're used to that. That is assuming your new head guy doesn't put Brits on the bad hombres list. Good luck with that, by the way. Secondly, I propose a small challenge. If you two can get through a whole show without misusing I and me, I will consider donating. I promise it's not that hard. You don't say, she have the book to I.
He meant to say she gave the book to I.
She gave the book to I?
Correct.
So following the same rule, you wouldn't say she gave the book to Scott and I, but rather to Scott and me. To get technical, one is the object pronoun and one is the subject, blah, 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 blah. Ben, your email just went. Forgive my rant. I am a language teacher, so it's my job to be anally retentive pedant. Pedant?
Yep.
Are you reading that?
Yes.
Anyhow, keep up the great work. I do really enjoy the show and will donate irrespective of grammar rules infringements.
Well,
keep
thanks,
your
Ben.
knees in the breeze.
So here's
That's
the deal.
awfully colloquial, Ben. Keep your knees in the breeze.
Here's the deal, Ben.
Ben Spencer, director, SLS, Spanish, English, something or other.
So I have to take Ben's...
Yeah.
By the way, you left out a sentence in there that was directed at reprimanding me specifically. He said, by the way, David, I'm calling you out as number 1 offender on this particular issue. So I hear you, Ben. I will say I learned the exact opposite in school. I remember a teacher saying that you're supposed to say, she gave the book to Scott and I.
Well, then you would be saying she gave the book to I, which is not correct. She gave the book to me.
That's what Ben's saying, correct. But I just remember learning that, and so I've always stuck with that, and I've made it a point to make sure that I was saying it what I thought was correctly. Now my whole world is torn upside down.
Yes.
I got to start from scratch.
Yes, this is a great reason why teachers' unions are lame.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe Ben is the one who we should be really questioning his credentials.
Here's what's going to happen, Ben. When we
know.
go on this
I don't know
surf
what the
trip,
director of SLS means, but
Ben we're going to have a whole seminar on the surf trip, one evening seminar on surf talk, surf discourse, surf diction.
Slogans, surf slangs,
right?
Surfing.
And Ben will be on the dais with David,
yeah,
and they will be discussing over a pint.
I don't mind being corrected, and so Ben, I appreciate the feedback you've given us over the years. We take this show very seriously, obviously.
I agree.
And
It won't be the first, won't be the last time that we mess up. I'm sure we already have.
Well, we spend most of the show slinging mud at other publications for for improperly reporting something or misspeaking.
Yeah. Remember about a year ago, you had this big thing about professionalism. You remember that? You
3 years ago, dude.
Yeah, time flies. Time flies.
It really does. No kidding. Well, one other follow-up that will kind of segue us into the actual news portion of the show is that on the last show, the kook was Mark Zuckerberg for purchasing land in Hawaii that was, owned by locals, quote unquote, and then trying to pay them out, whatever. There was some land rights issue with the local Kauaians, the natives. And so Mark has actually retracted his whatever he was doing. I'll basically give you a quote from, I think it was actually Mark himself sent this out as like a press release. He said, "We've heard from many in the community and learned more about the cultural and historical significance of this land. Over the past week, we've spoken with community leaders and shared that our intention is to achieve an outcome that preserves the environment, respects local tradition, and is fair to those with Kauaian lands. To find a better path forward, we are dropping our quiet title actions and will work together with the community on a new approach. We understand that the native Kauaians are sacred, and the Kauaian land is sacred, and the quiet title process can be difficult. We want to make this right, talk with the community, and find a better approach." So What he was doing, I guess, was suing people or suing whoever the government organization was to free up the ability to like put a wall up in front of that land that he can't, I guess, technically own. So now he's dropping the lawsuit against them, and they're just going to find a amicable, middle ground.
All right.
So follow up.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
I guess the big news that we should just get right into is the Mavericks stuff, right?
From last week's kook to this week's kook.
Titans of Mavericks is now Titans of Bummer.
Wow, did you come up with that on your own,
Yeah,
Scott?
thank you.
Hey, Ben Spencer, can we get a suggestion for a
Ben Spencer.
improvement?
Look, I was going to go Titans of Malignancy. I was going to use the M. I was going to go Titans of, Malice. That wouldn't have worked. But anyway, I thought it was just, when I thought about it, I went, you know what? The whole thing's just a big bummer. So it's the Titans of Bummer. This is from the New York Times. I'm going to read a little bit. The Mavericks surfing competition, the nation's premier big wave event, has been canceled this year after organizers were sued by its sponsors and filed for bankruptcy, event representatives said on Friday of last week. The event held a half mile off Half Moon Bay in Northern California at Mavericks. The annual one-day contest features 24 professional surfers competing on one of the world's most dangerous surf breaks, where waves can reach 60 feet. The event, officially known as Titans of Mavericks, takes place between November and March after a 48-hour notice is given when conditions are right, aligning clear weather and majestic swells. The cancellation comes 1 week after Red Bull, Mavericks broadcaster and only sponsor, filed a lawsuit against the event's promotional and management groups, Cartel Management and the Titans of Mavericks, for a breach of contract seeking $400,000. In its bankruptcy filings, Cartel faces claims of about $1.9 million, and Titans of Mavericks faces more than $776,000 in claims, according to court records. Quote, "The event is totally done this year," said Brian Overfelt, one of the 3 Mavericks Invitational board members. "It's impossible. There's no way this event will happen. We are completely and totally blindsided." Jeff Clark, the event's founder and well-known big wave surfer,
good friend of Scott Bass,
was shocked and frustrated by the news, which he first learned of from news reports. He said there was a disconnect between the surf community and event organizers who lacked, quote, "commitment to the sacred place in their hearts and souls. Our primary focus has always been to support the men and women who surf Mavericks and to preserve the sanctity of the wave and support our local community," Clark had said. "We have sacrificed much to create a stage for the world's best big wave surfers, and we are disappointed." This year's Mavericks was to have been the first to allow female surfers. Sabrina Brenna, who heads the San Mateo County Harbor Commission, which manages the Mavericks surf area, helped in the fight to include women. "This event has been plagued with problems since its inception," she said. "Trying to generate revenue from an event like Mavericks is a challenge. You need a more organized and committed group of people to pull it off." She added, "This is not good for the sport, and it's not good for the athletes." Several surfers have reached out to Brennan and requested that the commission terminate the 5-year event permit with Cartel, which is also Brennan's recommendation. That would allow another party to apply for a Mavericks permit in the future. Red Bull, which was to provide the contest prize money, filed a lawsuit against event organizers for breach of contract on January 27th. Lawyers for Red Bull declined to comment for this article. Titans of Mavericks said it was hopeful that this year's event could still be saved if the bankruptcy process and a sale of its business operations go quickly. The bankruptcy filing came after having had several conversations with multiple interested parties who were looking at an acquisition that could happen quickly with a minimum of legal complications, according to Griffin Guess, the Titans of Mavericks founder, which he said that in a statement. Surfers, shocked and saddened by the news, were already in town for the event and had been steadily approaching Brian Overfelt at his restaurant, Old Princeton Landing, a local hangout. So, here we are, David. Titans of Mavericks, a total Titans bummer. You and I saw this writing on the wall. Many of us did when the waves were perfect in November, and I mean perfect, like not a drop of water out of place, perfect. And there was no even yellow light, no even press release saying, hey, the waves are going to be good. You guys should come out and surf out here, and we'll take a look at you, and maybe the Committee of Five will select you as one of the participants in the event. There was not even a peep from the people at Titans of Mavericks, and that's where you and I and everyone in the surf world went, oh, red flag.
Red flag, and we did cover it at that time, and the story at that time was that they didn't have the permit yet from the county. And a lot of the rumblings and rumors were they couldn't afford the permit. So,
well, apparently there's just so much politics, as we mentioned. The politics are thick. According to this, the biggest asset they have is a 5-year permit. Mm-hmm. Now, that permit is from, hold on, bear with me here. The 5-year permit was granted by several agencies. And there's several other agencies, or at least one other, that thinks that it needs to also grant Mavericks a permit. So when I spoke to Jeff Clark in December, part of the problem was either the San Mateo Harbor people want to also issue a permit, and there's cities, and there's, of course, the Coastal Commission. There's so much going on here that, like I said, the politics is just thick. What we do know is that, look, there's surfers, big wave surfers, guys like Grant Twiggy Baker, Greg Long, Skin Dog Collins, Grant Washburn, all of these guys. There's a bunch of them, right? I'm missing a bunch. I'm just going to say there's the surfers themselves who sort of pride themselves as this sort of big wave fraternity, and I use the word fraternity loosely, knowing that there's women involved here. But certainly there's a patriarchal vibe with the leader, Jeff Clark, and all of the guys involved being men. But the surfers themselves just want to have an event to celebrate this tribe of big wave riders. Then there's Sabrina Brenna, who's a San Mateo County Harbor Commissioner, who heads up the Committee for Equity in Women's Surfing, who uses hashtags such as big wave feminism, hashtag surfragettes, and she is suggesting that Jeff Cartel was conned by Griffin and the Cartel.
Yeah.
She represents Bianca Valenti, who sort of stirred up some I don't know if you want to say it controversy, but she said, hey, what about the women? Yeah. I don't know if it's controversial. She just wanted equality, which is respectable. And together, Sabrina Brenna and Bianca Valenti, I think I'm saying her name right.
I think so.
Together, they forced Cartel management's hand, and they basically made the Committee of Five include a women's heat this year. And then you've got Jeff Clark himself, who's this basically the understood and recognized cultural overseer of the surf break of Mavericks due to his 40 years of time in the water there.
Yeah.
And there's probably even more to it than that. But at the end of the day, I think the whole Mavericks surf contest thing should just go away.
Yeah. So I know that there is a lot of political red tape that you've talked about, but honestly, I think that's kind of a distraction. I think that people are pointing fingers at that to distract from the real issue. And what I would guess the real issue might be is cartel management. You look at their track record. I just found some stuff online about Cartel. They got sued last year. But let me actually back up. Cartel management was founded by this guy, Griffin Guess, who you've mentioned in this show. Griffin Guess started I guess it was a creative services firm back in the late 90s that made music videos. So he comes from the music world, made music videos, represents talent in that world as well, represents and married Marissa Miller, which is a international swimsuit model. Gorgeous, by the way. That was a great get for Griffin. Seriously, she's beautiful. So
great get. You make it sound like he purchased her.
I don't care who you are. That's marrying up. Even if you're Brad Pitt, that's marrying up, dude. She's incredible. Anyways, in 2007, Griffin Guest founded this Cartel management group, and they're a boutique management company that represents supermodels, athletes, musicians. How they pivoted into this Titans of Mavericks thing, I'm not sure, unless maybe they.
Well, he lives in
events.
Capitola,
okay,
right, and he, I think he was surfing with Brian Overfelt, or he was surfing with one of the guys,
okay,
and they just said, "Hey, why don't we do this?" So. Well, it all kind of happened over just numerous discussions in the surf up in the Santa Cruz, Half Moon Bay area.
Well, in 2006, Cartel lost a lawsuit brought by a sunless tanning company called Gleason for $1 million for failing to adhere to their contractual obligations. Now, this Red Bull media suit that comes with this bankruptcy was Red Bull paid them $400,000 for the rights to this year's webcast, and then they don't run the event.
Right.
So then Red Bull starts reaching out to them and is like, hey, we're willing to sort this out. Send us our money back. And basically Red Bull said, quote, after receiving Cartel's purported termination letter, searching for a rationale for Cartel's erratic behavior, we found that we're basically not going to get paid due to these financial and legal difficulties. So now they're suing for that amount of money. So all signs point to a mismanagement by the company who's trying to run this event. I know Jeff Clark and the Surfers representatives want this event to work. It seems like the county wants this event to work. They just want to be able to find a way to run the contest successfully, where everybody makes a little bit of money. The county makes money. Surfers make money. Great. And it seems like the surfers and the sponsors stepped up, but the management company, the contest promoter is the one who mixed everything up. Yeah. So I don't know that it's Griffin Guest specifically, but he owns the company, and the company's mismanaged.
Look, it starts at the top.
Exactly.
Here's something at the very beginning, when Cartel took over this Titans of Mavericks thing, or created this Titans of Mavericks thing, you might remember one of its first moves was to extract Body Glove from which in 2014 signed a 3-year title sponsor deal.
That's right.
That lawsuit's still going on.
Oh, wow.
And they also limited access to the break on the contest day for media and passenger boats. So there's been a lot of controversy just from the get-go, And then there was the Coastal Commission thing basically holding back the permit unless they included women.
Right.
And the whole thing's just a mess. My feeling is the contest at Mavericks, whatever it's called, needs to not happen for at least 5 years. Just don't do it.
Yeah.
Let the egos and the power brokers simmer down. Let it all just go away.
Yeah.
Eventually, if it seems appropriate, perhaps a leader with a transparent mission, somebody that transcends the culture that everybody looks to as like, yeah, you know what, that guy's not going to screw us. Maybe somebody like Greg Long.
Right.
Maybe it's Grant Washburn. I don't know who it is, but somebody that isn't tainted by the past and whose character, again, transcends any of the bickering. Or maybe not. Maybe Mavericks as a contest site is just one big hellacious wipeout.
I don't think it is. I think it is just like you said, having the lack of vision from a specific leader. So Red Bull, interestingly, had purchased the media rights to run that event. They don't need Titans of Mavericks. Red Bull can do it on their own. We've seen them do it at Jaws. We've seen them do it.
Let me interrupt. What do they need to do that? They need the permit. That's the one asset in this bankruptcy is the permit. There's a permit that's floating around. That's really all they got. They're like, we're selling off our assets. What does that mean? You're selling your recording instruments? No, you're probably just selling the permit.
Right.
I don't even think you can sell a permit. The permit's issued by the Coastal Commission and by the harbor port.
Well, if there's a contract that says they have it for 5 years, you got to buy them out of the contract in theory. So you're not purchasing the permit, you're just buying them out of the contract.
Yeah, I don't know the legalities of it, but it seems to me that the Coastal Commission can just go, you know what? We're canceling that permit. So it's not even an asset.
Well, considering that Red Bull signed a contract for the media rights, so they had to cancel that contract as well, so contracts get canceled.
So the permitting of the event is where all of this drama really takes place, because I know that this Brennan woman, I forget her first name, Sabrina? Let me
Something
look.
like that.
Anyway, she's on that Harbor Commission, San Mateo County Harbor Commission,
Yeah.
they want to issue a permit. The Coastal Commission wants to issue a permit. Probably the city of or county of Half Moon Bay or the city of Half Moon Bay wants to, like all of this bureaucracy that is so wonderful in the state of California needs to align itself and get its own act together so they can say, okay, who really has the power to issue one permit? You shouldn't, please don't make us get 5 permits for God's sakes. Get your act together. Be professional.
Couldn't agree more.
One friggin' permit,
Yeah.
you know? There's so many egos and so much power, bro. And that's really the main, that's why this is a problem. Too many egos, not enough people like Greg Long just going, hey, let's just do it for the right reasons.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I think
everybody's got their finger in somebody's cookie jar. Pisses me off. Including, I think, this Susan Brennan woman.
Yeah.
Because she's like, oh, let's have this equality for women. I'm all about that. Let's do it. This is what I propose. Let's just have a women's only contest at Mavericks. When it's 40 feet, let's have a contest. Let's see how engaged you and I are as viewers. I'll watch it.
Yeah.
I want to see the women surf 40-foot Mavericks.
Yeah.
Let's see how engaged the sponsorship is. Let's see how many people sign up. How many sponsors go, this is a great idea. Women in 40-foot waves with great white sharks. And I want to see how long the contest goes on. I'm into it.
Yeah.
I say let's do that. Women only at Mavericks.
All right. We saw it at Jaws.
It went, how did that go?
It didn't go great. Depends who you are, but it didn't go great by the viewers' stands and a couple of the women that ended up in the hospital. So, I hear you. What's up with that deadpan stare, dude?
I'm pissed.
Yeah, you are. Jeez.
The whole thing's a joke. The whole Mavericks.
No, let me ask you this.
I agree. Everybody that is involved now needs to leave. And just let it all go away for 5 years.
I got
Susan Brennan will become some other important. She'll move her power thing over there. The other people will move their power. Griffin Guess will move to Hawaii. The whole thing will disappear in 5 years. And if it's meant to be, it'll happen. And somebody that again, you know, transcends any of the bullshit.
Yeah. Well, so I think that a lot of the people handing out the permits have the resource in mind, and the resource being the wave. You know, it's like this world-class wave that everybody's coming to. They don't want to just see it get overrun and pilfered by cartel management or whoever else comes in and just capitalizes on it. Just like Hawaii recognizes pipeline as a resource. We're in the middle of the Vulcan Pipe Pro right now. Yesterday, the waves were pumping. They couldn't run because they don't give permits on Sunday. Because it's like, this is a resource. We can't just let it get overrun. We need to kind of reserve it for the locals who want to surf it as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that they're trying to sort out what that looks like for Mavericks, and that's why they're being a little bit cagey with the permits and that sort of thing. But I agree, there's too many people involved in that process. Do you want to transition to the Vulcan Pipe Pro? Have you been watching? And
yeah, it's been insane.
So there's a number of segues here with the Mavericks event in that Red Bull was involved in both. I was saying Red Bull doesn't need Titans to run.
Don't. They just need the damn permit. And that's
correct.
There's 5 different permits and 15 different egos.
Got that. So, by the way, Red Bull running this Vulcan Pipe Pro broadcasting.
So good.
They're phenomenal,
so
dude.
Good.
They're so good.
So good.
Professional.
It's ridiculous.
And they've implemented one thing that you and I have talked about,
right.
which they have something called the Other Guys.
Yeah.
Which is an alternative commentary team that isn't giving you necessarily the play-by-play of every wave, but they're giving you a lot of color commentary. And they're even like referencing sponsor deals that are happening outside of this contest, like, oh, you know, Jack Freestone's writing for Billabong. I heard his contract was priced at this last year or whatever. Just all this industry gossip like you and I are giving on this show when we talk about the events.
But theirs is like true.
And and they work in the industry. But they're also sitting at Pipeline watching it real time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was
great.
That's a really cool thing. Obviously, the camera angles, all of that is super, super slick. But I just think Red Bull's done a great job with the Vulcan Pipe Pro.
Just the way that, okay, so when I first tuned in, I was like, I guess the WSL doesn't have as much influence over the way the broadcast goes as they used to. Remember, like when 3 years ago when WSL was like, okay, all the events have to kind of have our shine on them, you know? This reminds me of the ASP where Volcom and Red Bull just said, let's just do our event this way. And you just get the feeling the WSL is just kind of looking the other way or is fine with it. Or do you know what I'm saying? Like it doesn't.
Totally. But the WSL is involved. This is a WSL
I know, that's my point.
On the qualifying series.
That's my point is that like the first couple of years of the WSL, they were very like, okay, you know, Paul Speaker's in charge and this is the way it's going to be and you've got to do it this way and this is the way the broadcast is going to be. And Red Bull can't even be involved. God, you know, like.
Right. There's that.
You know, like there's. And so I'm looking at this and I'm like, this reminds me of 2003 or something. You know?
But I would argue the CT events are still the way
of
that
course,
you're saying.
But even back then, the QSs were still real strict.
I don't think you've been watching the QSs. Like, there's QSs that happen throughout the year that I think have been run by their own commentary team and broadcasting standards that are similar to this. But I think this is the most public of them and that this is the best event. I mean, this is the best QS event throughout the course of the year.
There's no doubt. I just feel like
it's looser.
It's a little loosey-goosey compared to the way it used to be.
Well, so
even the Vulcan Pipe Pro had like this kind of like
it was
dressage of like it was dressed like it was a WSL CT event.
Yeah.
And now it's not. Now it's like Red Bull's running it and they're killing it.
It is.
It feels like a Red Bull TV event. It doesn't feel I don't feel like I'm watching a WSL event.
I agree, and I was surprised to see Ross Williams and some of the WSL commentators actually still participating in this event. You know,
that's what I mean. I just think that
I would
like
think
it's way more relaxed regarding how the WSL views these webcasts, and you might see more of this.
So you know, I think the WSL could actually take a page out of the
Red
Bull's book. And here's one specific example.
Yes,
all the commercials in between the heats are of Red Bull advertising their own shows for redbull.tv. So when we watch the WSL CT events, it's commercials for Samsung, commercials for Jeep, commercials for maybe Quicksilver or whoever the sponsor is of the event. Red Bull doesn't do any of that. They cut to commercial and it's advertising their series The Ripple Effect or advertising their series Kickstarted. And you go to redbull.tv, they have an entire television network with phenomenal programming. And Red Bull is a media company. We've learned that. I mean, you think of them as being the energy drink company, but really they're a media company that's just selling an energy drink, you know? WSL, I think, has been trying to make that pivot, and they're funneling a lot of people to their YouTube channel to try to get eyeballs. But all of that is really just to sell advertising to Samsung and Jeep and come up with a number that justifies the number of eyeballs. Whereas Red Bull, they're not selling any advertising. They're going, look, we're going to build this media company. They have a magazine, obviously, and they have this digital television network, all promoting their athletes so that kids go into the liquor store and buy their energy drink. All they're selling is an energy drink. WSL is still trying to sell advertising, you know.
What do you think about in about 3 years, Red Bull runs professional surfing?
We've had that conversation. It's not unreasonable.
I just typed in Vulcan Pipe Pro in my Google search and Red Bull TV came up first. And I clicked on it, and I'm watching Red Bull TV, and they're doing the pre-event Monday morning. The waves look good. We're going to run this event.
Yeah. Well,
and it's all like, look at this.
No, I know. I had it up too.
That does not look like a WSL broadcast.
Yeah.
I didn't even. There's no WSL. I don't even see WSL anywhere.
No. Here. Vulcan Pipe Pro redirects to redbull.tv now.
Yeah, that's what I'm watching.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's kind of fascinating to me. It just seems like, again, it feels like, and maybe it's just me, but it feels like Paul Speaker left and all of a sudden they went, hey, Dad's not home. Let's have a party.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's kind of the vibe I'm getting. Like they robbed the liquor case and they took Dad's smokes and they're in the living room. How good is when they're all kind of sitting around, like you say, just talking, like Sal and Cote and whoever.
Well, it reminds me of
and they've got Bruce Irons and Mason Ho in there and Jamie O'Brien, and they're just and they're not. And waves are being ridden in a little picture in picture.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. It reminds me of the X Games actually, because they just had the X Games in Aspen, right? And that's the same exact format they have. They're in a living room on a sofa with a area rug and a coffee table, and they're shooting the breeze, you know?
And they're watching it, and if something goes down, there's a replay, and all of them are watching it too. So they're like, hey, hold on, shut up. Look at this wave.
Exactly.
So they go to the wave, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm a big fan. And by the way, I'm not kidding when I say redbull.tv has fantastic programming. Go watch.
What, they got Marissa Miller or something?
I wish, dude. I wish.
No, they do have great programming. That's really where they have the WSL by the balls. When you think about it.
No, that's exactly the point that I'm making. And remember,
they got eyeballs everywhere.
So remember the film from this year won the film of the year at the Surfer Poll Awards, which was Let's Be Frank.
Yes.
And I had Frank and the director on this show, on Surf Splendor. Well, that was sponsored by Red Bull, and they put it out in limited release where it was going to be on their website for a week, and then it went away for a while. And you could purchase it on iTunes for a bit, but it seemed weird the way that they were distributing it. Like they advertised that it was going to be available and then it went away. Well, it's currently available on Red Bull TV. And what they were doing apparently was just holding it back to make it part of their suite of programs when they launched this new version of redbull.tv. But again, it's the film of the year. It's available for free. You don't have to subscribe to their network. You don't give them $7 a month like HBO Go or whatever. It's all for free on redbull.tv. It's phenomenal. Like, as the viewer who just wants content, they're producing fantastic content in the hopes that you just maybe buy an energy drink down the road, you know? So I'm a big, big fan. And if anybody needs content, go to redbull.tv. I would argue start with a series called The Ripple Effect. They did season 1 about 2 years ago where they profiled Vans. They profiled Bob Hurley and his rise. The origin stories of O'Neal and Quicksilver were all part of season 1. It was really, really good. They're about 30-minute programs, super slick editing. And now season 2 is available, and they've got it's a bunch of stories that I'd actually had to look up who the guys were because it wasn't really surf related, but they interviewed the guy that started Reddit, guys that started this media company called Twitch, but still just really compelling stories. Yeah. So what are you looking at?
I'm watching the Redbull.tv surf contest.
Yeah, but for the record, that's yesterday's stream. They haven't started
Oh, it
today's
is?
yet.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
So
I thought this was today's.
they're running yesterday's. It says day 3, right?
I don't know. I just clicked on...
Yeah. It's the redirect, but if you look at the timeline
Oh, yeah,
on
day
it...
3, yeah, sorry.
Yeah. The timeline on it shows that it's like 5 hours and 37 minutes long, right? It's just a feed from yesterday.
Oh, you got me.
Yeah. But I'm with you. It starts in like 25 minutes, so we'll check that.
Well, you know, like I said, the big thing here is I don't see WSL anywhere on this broadcast at all. I don't see it anywhere on the set. And of course, you and I know that there was, you know, early on there was it Red Bull that got into the big thing with the speaker? Like they wouldn't let Jordy wear his Red Bull hat.
Yeah, exactly. So you have been watching the event, by the way.
Yeah.
So
round 3 was insane.
Day 1 ran in like almost what looked like a right-handed sand point
northeast break. Swell, backdoor. Yeah, the sand moved. It was just this crazy.
But it was doubling up, crazy barrels. Not a ton of great ones, but there were some 10s when they came. So that was really exciting just to see something different. But yesterday, or I guess Saturday, returned to form with like classic pipeline, and it looked incredible. It
was perfect.
It really was perfect.
You know, they even asked a lot of the guys that came into the studio set. I think Bruce Irons said it was a 7 out of 10. It wasn't
John
huge.
said it.
Yeah, so you know, a 7 out of 10 to those guys is, you know, they're leaving some room for extra perfect, but
there were perfect waves.
So many perfect waves,
and
both ways.
Overhead. Yeah, exactly. So it's basically it kicks off the QS season, this event, in a big way, but it also kind of wraps up the Hawaii season at the same time, you know. Interestingly, only 3 surfers have ever won this event.
Really?
Only 3 surfers.
Kelly, John, and Jamie?
That's it. And John's won like 4 times. Kelly's won 3. You know, I forget how many Jamie's won.
Yeah.
But it's like those guys have dominated this event. More interestingly, Kelly lost in his very first heat.
I know.
Round 3. So
he just got schooled by, was it Bruce?
And Seth Moniz.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Seth Moniz, kind of the shocker in that. I mean, he's not a shocker. Obviously, his family is storied and he's put in his time, but he's a young guy going up against Kelly and Bruce. and he beat them both. They started off heats back to back. Bruce got like a 9.67, and then Seth, very next wave, got like a 9.47 or something. Actually fell off as he was getting blown out of the barrel, so I was kind of surprised that they gave him that big of a score. But I was also glad because he did come out, and then he just cartwheeled, like kind of the spit blew him off.
That's another area where you kind of feel like the judges don't feel the
Agreed.
the damp, cold cloth of the WSL kind of over them. You know, you sense that whoever is in charge is kind of going, hey, man, this is our event.
Yeah.
You know what? Dad's not home.
Yeah.
Let's have a party.
Yeah. They are a little looser with the judging. Like that wave at the Pipe Masters, I think would have got scored like a 3 or something because he didn't ride out, you know?
Dad's not coming home. Dad split.
You love this analogy. This feels almost like a therapeutic session. Are you bringing up some childhood stuff right now?
I'm just saying, let's have a party.
So, interestingly, Kelly stated, I don't know where he stated this, but I heard a lot of people commenting on it. Chris Cote commented on it. Sal Masakela commented on it, that Kelly said this would be his last year on tour.
Yeah, I've heard that before.
Did you see Kelly say something?
Well,
was it straight from the horse's mouth?
I think so. I think there's a quote somewhere. Like, I mean, this is it. Like, he's made it known. There is no more.
Well, how do you?
This is the last year.
This is his last year, and how do you feel about him losing first heat of the first contest of the season?
Well, as you know,
it's not a CT contest, but still, this is a
big event for him.
Totally.
As you know, Seth Moniz gave us some great insight. He said when the heat started, Kelly was looking down at his watch and adjusting his watch because he had it set for a 30-minute heat and it was a 25-minute heat. So while he was down there, as the heat's going, adjusting his watch, that first set of the morning rolled through. Bruce and Seth got it. And Seth's basically saying Kelly wasn't ready. Or normally Seth was surprised that he didn't get hassled by Kelly out of that wave.
Right.
And that was the heat. Then the rest of the heat, Kelly's playing catch-up because he didn't have his shit together.
Yep.
And as a fan of Kelly Slater, as a guy who wants to see Kelly Slater go out on top, this is disturbing to me because all of his, energy, the tone that he was setting was, hey, this is my final year. I'm really going to give it my all. I'm going to put Perps and Outer Known and my girlfriend and the wave pool.
And my surfboard company.
All of that shit on the side burner this is it.
Yeah.
And he comes out and doesn't have his watch set properly?
For the first heat and the first event of the year, and the waves are pumping at Pipeline.
I hope he has enough humility to kind of slap himself.
Yeah.
Because that's bullshit.
It really is.
And now he's playing in the AT&T Pro-Am this year at Pebble, like this week. Yeah. Right now he's in Pebble Beach.
Yeah.
That's okay. I'm okay with that.
How quickly you change your opinion when it's a sport that you like now.
No. Here's why I'm okay with Kelly playing golf. Here's why. Yeah. Because the next event he's going to surf is going to be at the end of February in 2.5-3 weeks, right?
Okay. He's
going to have time between this golf tournament to fly to Australia and get his shit together.
We're talking about focus, though. Like,
I agree. What's going to make you focus more than a golf tournament? Have you ever played in a golf tournament? You got to be
focused on the wrong thing.
No, it doesn't matter. It teaches you uber focus. Uber focus.
You're going to win a world title while you're also playing professional golf.
You're going to take the focus
Ask
from
Michael Jordan how that worked when he was playing baseball. You know what I mean? Like, it just doesn't. You need to focus all your energy on something.
He didn't do them both at the same time. He did.
All right, Bo Jackson. Let's use Bo Jackson.
Bo Jackson was great. He did both.
He was my hero when I was a kid, dude. I love Bo Jackson.
Knows surf. He's everybody's hero. He's still my hero.
He is. I agree.
The golf tournament is a good thing to get him. He's going to be around guys that are like, dude, we do this thing called focusing to win. And he's going to make him snap into it.
I disagree completely. And I've been saying...
You're off the Slater bandwagon already, aren't you?
Dude, well, you're right now saying him checking his watch is disheartening, and that really worries me as a fan. I'm going, dude, I've been telling you that for 3 years, that he wasn't paying attention to the prize, which is winning that 12th world title. And this is just more of the same.
By the way, didn't you give me $100 about 2 weeks ago because Kelly did what I said he was going to do, and he kicked ass at Pipeline, and you didn't have faith in him based on what you just told me, that he's not prepared, that he's not into it.
It's your one win this year, dude. Enjoy it. Soak it up.
I still got the $100 in my pocket.
That was the $100 you gave me the previous year.
Whatever.
When I won.
Point
the
is that
bet.
I agree with you. It's disheartening, as I said, but the golf tournament's going to be good to kind of get him, and he's going to listen to this and go, you know what? I'm going to swallow my pride here. Maybe those guys are right. I'm going to focus. Right, Kelly?
Hey,
come on.
That is my dream. That's why I give him so much crap. Is I like to think that he's on a flight with his earbuds in, going like, man, David Scales' quiet and gentle criticism has really made me reevaluate my entire life, and I'm going to dedicate my 12th world title to him.
I was at the golf course yesterday, and out of the blue, the starter goes, hey, Scott, what do you think about Kelly this year? And I gave him the same spiel I've been giving you, that this is his final year. He's got focus. He's getting rid of all that other stuff. It's going to happen. It's now or never. What a great way to ride into the sunset. And the starter was like, I agree. It's amazing how many, all the guys at the golf club know who Kelly Slater is, and they're all pulling for him.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's going to happen. I have faith in Slater.
So this event actually is.
Should we just make a bet right now based on?
Well, okay. What would the bet be?
I don't know.
Lay out the terms.
Well, I guess we need to think it through.
All right then. This Vulcan Pipe Pro, by the way, I've really enjoyed. The waves obviously have been pumping. I like seeing guys who aren't on the CT, like Balaram Stack. You know, it's like, I like Balaram. He's all right. But like, it's rad to see him charge and advance with John in that heat. Kind of random dudes whose names I've never heard. O'Neill Masson, you know? But then also the local guys like Koa Smith and Koa Rothman, both the Koas. Yeah. Makua Kai Rothman. Got a 10 at backdoor that was insane. Yeah. Seeing Mason be able to do his thing.
Claims, like everyone's high on the Mason claims.
Mason's claims are so sick.
He looks like his dad. Like he comes out, he came out of that tube and he did that move with that Sal called like a hip tilt or something.
Yeah.
And it looked so much like Michael Ho.
Yeah, hunchback.
Yeah, kind of that hunchback.
With the hip tilted out. Like he's going to go into humping motion, but he doesn't fully go into like rapid motion. He just sticks it out, you know?
Another thing that the broadcast is doing, which is interesting, is they're not talking down to the core audience, you and I. They're talking like we know exactly what they're talking about. They're not talking to my wife or a fan in Iowa. They're using a lot of colloquialism, a lot of like, hey, if you don't know what we're talking about, too bad. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure that that's not only endearing to you and I who go, oh, cool, we get it. It's also endearing to the guy that's on the outside that's like, I want to understand what this lingo, these guys are obviously underneath Disneyland driving around. They know the inner workings of what's happening here. And that's sort of intriguing. And I'm going to bite the hook and follow along and try to figure it out.
They want to be in with the in crowd.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. I totally agree.
And the broadcasters seem more comfortable in that realm too.
I agree.
They're just being themselves.
Yeah, totally. By the way, I did want to say one thing about Slater is that
you've said enough about Slater. Okay, you're not allowed to talk about Slater.
I would like to say, to Slater's credit,
yes,
he's going for 12s out there, where I feel like some of the other guys are taking off on waves that they think they might be able to make and hopefully get an 8 out of them. Slater is taking off under the hood, the way John does, by the way.
Yeah.
Taking off under the hood on the double ups, deeper than everybody, going for 12s, and he's almost making them. There were a couple of waves in that heat that he would have got a 10 on each of them, and it would have been a perfect heat score, and he's
like
not
that last
inches.
Left.
Yes,
left. Yeah.
He's not inches. He's centimeters away from making those things.
I know.
So I got to kind of commend him for not just like...
That's just the way he serves.
That's the way he serves when the waves are good, you know? So you got to kind of... Like him losing with a 13-point total isn't really reflective of the way that he surfed.
Right.
He was moments away from a perfect 20.
He's going to get... So. He goes out going, I'm getting 9 9s or I'm losing the heat.
Totally.
You know what I mean?
In conditions like that, he is. Yeah. I think oftentimes, though, he will surf a smarter heat competitively than others. But when the waves are like that, it's balls to the wall. And because he can do things that nobody else can do.
Yeah.
Always. So just wanted to give him credit where credit's due.
Well, there were some performances, like you mentioned, guys. Yago Dora, I saw him get worked, but also surf the heat really well, but take off late and just get absolutely axed. And Carlos
Munoz. What about him?
I heard some interesting things about him.
Say him.
I'll just say that I don't want to. I'll just say that I hope things work out for him. I've heard that. No, you know what I'm going to say.
I don't know.
No, it's not. I don't want to. I'm just going to say that I hope that I'm pulling for Carlos. Let me just say that I'm pulling for Carlos. I heard he had a tough year, and I'm pulling for Carlos.
Tough year due to self-inflicted.
Yes.
His own problems.
Yes.
He's creating for himself.
Yes.
I don't know what you're talking about, but as a fan of Carlos's in previous,
I heard he's on thin ice with some of his sponsors.
Yeah. I've heard the same things in that he's the number one guy in Costa Rica who's got he's the big fish in the small pond down there, and it's easy to let things like that go to your head. And so, and he's an incredible surfer, but of course,
he let some of the trappings of the tour life take control of him, and there were some bad situations where he got himself in a place where I think he was embarrassed by his actions, and I'm sure he wished they didn't happen, but he can use them as a learning thing.
Yeah.
And but I know that, it's tough. I mean, being like the guy, basically the anointed one from Costa Rica, and then going out around the world and having all of these temptations thrown at you, and they're hard to resist,
Yeah.
and hopefully he'll get his act together, and it seems like he kind of does.
Yeah, I saw him at a film premiere in Long Beach during the U.S. Open, either this year or last year, and he was pulling the hottest chick in the party, dude. And
that might be the problem.
And there's a lot of hot chicks. It's Southern California, huge inventory of hot chicks, and it's U.S. Open time, so they come from all over. And
he was walking around. Of hot chick. You're making these girls just seem like products that you're going to purchase.
I love how you have transitioned from being the sexist co-host to now being...
What's wrong with being sexy?
No, that's not what I said.
Even if they were chicks, it could have been a dude in drag.
Oh, gosh.
Who knows?
Let's not go down that road. Speaking of women, surfing and quality, and then pull it up on an iPad and show Felipe's turn versus your turn side by side with a little marker, like a NFL play-by-play kind of thing with X's and O's. And we'll have Felipe give you coaching technique. And so that's what they're doing. They're currently in Mexico now.
Oh, good.
Brett Simpson is the backup coach, and they're documenting all of it. And it's been good. There's a couple of still images of Lakey boosting. And
this is cool. This is the kind of thing that's great for women surfing, right? Yeah. And by the way, having women surf at Mavericks alongside the guys is also in the similar vein.
Yeah,
yeah. It's just regarding the Mavericks thing, it's like this is life and death.
Totally.
But I'm stoked, and it makes sense, and it doesn't surprise me that Hurley's behind this because they're pretty progressive and they've got it figured out, and good for them, and good for Lakey Peterson. I'm looking forward to seeing that. This is the kind of thing that's going to, in 10 years, is going to pay off if they continue this path towards that progression in women's aerial surfing,
Yeah. Well, I like the concept as well. It's a win-win for Hurley. It's all their team athletes,
Who's the one South American gal that
Silvana Lima?
Yeah, she does the insane areas, but she's off the tour. She's not even around.
Yeah, she came in hot the one year she requalified, which might
she's got a hideous style, but she actually gets in the air and does it.
Yeah, and she's doing the club sandwich turns. And the first couple events of the season, she got really, I think a couple of 10s even.
Yeah,
I remember a 10 at Bells Beach, and then fell off tour that same year. It's came out hot and then went away. But again, she's from Brazil. She doesn't have sponsor backing. Right. She's kind of later in her career. She's older, so I think it's just harder to acquire sponsorship.
In 10 or 15 years, will she be looked at as a pioneer?
Totally. I think
you
she
think
already
that
is.
The women will realize, hey, Silvana was really the first. Kind of like the way we look at, in some regards, we look at
Rochelle
Christian Fletcher regarding the aerials and stuff like that. Even though there was guys before Christian, but Christian laid it out in a contest.
And cover shots on magazine. Yeah. So I think it's interesting
how Silvana Lima have that kind of that sort of.
I think she already does in Brazil. I don't know.
But I mean, amongst
the
women professional surfers, in 15 years, will they even know who Silvana?
Do you even know who?
No, I can't even pronounce her name. Let's call her Lima.
Here's my answer: is probably not, to be honest. Even though she is the pioneer, I think being regarded as a legend and an icon has to do with also like your personality and how you were treated.
And results, right? Results.
To a degree, and she has results, but it's like you remember their charisma, and then also they were great at what they did. You know, there's
it's a full package.
There's Kevin Reed in Santa Cruz, and all these, a ton of aerialists whose name you don't remember.
Right.
So what I will say though is that it's interesting how history reflects on people, and we saw girls getting barreled at Chopu, like barely getting barreled at Chopu in the last couple of years on the CT level. And people are championing that. And then Rochelle Ballard posted an Instagram and goes, do you guys remember this from 1998? And it's her getting absolutely pitted on a wave that was way gnarlier than any of the current girls took off on. And it was like, oh yeah, we forgot about you, Rochelle. You know, because you're quietly doing yoga in Kauai, and you're not out there advertising yourself, even though
that's
she was.
Incredibly interesting, right? Because now, so what you're saying is that this generation of millennials, because we have so much stuff at our fingertips, we don't have any context of history. It's like, oh yeah, I forgot about that because I'm more about what's happening tomorrow. What's the next clip that's going to drop? Well, do you think that's true that we don't have as
it is true
as a broad view of history now as we once did because we have so much to look at? We're just overwhelmed.
And there's not as much reverence of history. The other problem that I have is that there's so much more respect for the shameless self-promoter now than there's ever been. So it used to be that it wasn't cool to promote yourself, you know, and Rochelle bagged that clip and then quietly walked off the stage, dropped the mic, walked off, and allowed Bill Ballard, her husband, and other people to collect that footage and advertise it to the public. You know what I mean? Ex-husband. But at the time, it was like he's making the best quality surf videos and promoting it for her. You let the other people. Nowadays... He
did a lot to champion women's surfing, actually, Bill Ballard.
And nowadays, and he's, by the way, behind John's 12 series. Yeah. So he's still doing great film work. Yeah. But the point is, nowadays, it's lauded to be a self-promoter. Our commander-in-chief is the biggest self-promoter of them all, and that used to be disgraceful. And now it's like, that's how you become president of the United States. It's just a sign of the times. Good, bad, ugly, whatever. It's just the sign of the times. It's bad and it's ugly. The Kardashians, you know, it's like, oh, God, it is what it is. Yeah. So unless you're going to post a booty of your selfie on selfie of your booty on Instagram, Scott, you're never going to get 1 million followers.
I'll lose 1 million followers if I see that.
You're going to have negative followers?
Negative followers.
The first Instagram account to ever have negative followers.
That would be insane. How good would that be?
So, anyway, follow that series, by the way, on beachgrit.com. I like... Derek Riley just labeled it, Can a Girl Nail a Full Rotor, is what the title is.
Well, speaking of Hurley, this may be a good segue into my experience at Cal State San Marcos, my alma mater, where I went there. They have that, speaking of Red Bull, they did that Distance Between Dreams, right, with Ian Walsh?
Ian Walsh's film.
And there's that segment in there where he's on that VO2 Max machine at Cal State San Marcos gauging his oxygen efficiency, and I went and did that. I visited Cal State San Marcos. They were kind enough to let me partake in their study. And by the way, any surfer can, that's in San Diego that can make time for it, can go down and do the study. And so they hooked me up to the machine, to the oxygen monitoring.
Explain what the machine looks like. It's a face mask.
Yeah, it's a face mask.
Looks like you're getting gas at the dentist office or something.
Perfect. Thank you. Yeah. So it's like a dental gas mask that has two tubes that are connected to the oxygen monitoring machine, the data input machine. And you put on a heart monitor and a watch, and
they put you in a pool.
They put me in a pool on a small little thin board on purpose, a board that doesn't have much volume.
Not much flotation.
Not much flotation.
So it's kind of not floating on the surface. You're submerged a
little bit. Yeah, okay. It's probably 2 inches thick, like a 6 foot, 2 inch thick surfboard.
Okay.
And it's this plume thing, right? Where they start the flow against you very slowly.
Okay.
And then every 10 seconds, they ramp up the speed of the flow. So at first, I'm literally just using one arm. I don't even have to do that to kind of stay in position.
Paddling.
And the idea is to stay in position next to the tennis ball that they have hanging. And they ramp it up every 10 seconds, and they let you know when they're ramping it up. And before you know it, you're paddling kind of, not too aggressively, just doing a normal paddle. And they keep ramping it up, and they keep telling you they're ramping it up. And before you know it, you're at a good pace. And now you're at full paddle force. You're going full speed. They're keep ramping it up. They keep ramping it up. And at some point, they start to cheer you on because they know that you're huffing and puffing. And and so they get to full speed, and you just go until you can't stay aligned with the tennis ball, and you are pushed to the back of the pool, at which point they go, okay, you're done.
Which they're going to ramp it up.
They're going to ramp it up.
You're never going to win this
game. No, you're never going to win.
Yeah.
It's how long can you stay in the pool? Ian Walsh stayed in the pool for 15 minutes. He has the record, 15 minutes. And so they do this, and it's it's quite a workout. It's quite challenging, and it was interesting to find out where I stood regarding my oxygen efficiency relative to only paddling, in regard to other people either my age or younger than me or older than me. There's all these demographics that they put you in.
And where do you stand?
I'm above average for a 51-year-old male. My reading was 32.7, and I went for 11 minutes and 7 seconds. And I'm on average with a 25-year-old male. And these are all the guys in this study are core enthusiast surfers. They're not like kooks.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So I was on average with a 25-year-old male. Now, there are 25-year-old males that are way above, and there's some 25-year-old males that are below.
I know how averages work.
Yes. And
just messing with you.
Anyway, so
that's pretty impressive, dude. Nicely done.
Well, I think, yeah, I mean, and look, I felt like it was on. I was trying to beat Ian Walsh.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, that wasn't going to happen. It was not going to happen.
So what is the name of your film going to be called? I assume that footage is going into the documentary of Scott Bass's life.
Oh, my God. It's going to be called Egomaniac with an Inferiority Complex.
The Scott Bass story. Sponsored by some bathing suit company.
Right, who won't get paid by Cartel Management, some sun tanning company.
This is not related to that at all, but just kind of an interesting thing that I saw on the internet. Did you see the photo of the kid doing the backside snap in front of a shark?
Yeah.
How gnarly
He doesn't even see that.
The kid didn't see it.
Yeah, the dad's filming it.
Yeah, the dad was shooting this footage in Australia.
Western Oz, I think, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly.
I thought it was
Nelson Bay real estate agent, Chris Hassan is the guy that shot it. So I don't know where Nelson Bay is.
Right.
At any rate, he was just shooting footage of his kid. His kid's going down the line on the left, and he's setting up for a snap. He's actually kind of coming off the bottom, and you can see a shark basically in the wave face.
Looks like the shark's upside down.
Does.
Like his mouth. Like you see his mouth on the wave face.
But not as if his mouth's open. You just see the white underbelly a little bit. It's pretty creepy looking. And the kid didn't see the shark, came in, and then the dad was like, oh my gosh, I think I saw something. And they review the footage, and sure enough, so there's a screenshot of it. I'll post it on Surf Splendor's Instagram, at Surf Splendor, and then on surfsplendorpodcast.com. And then, interestingly, the kid went surfing the next day again. It's like, not to be deterred.
No, kids don't care.
So, they don't, but the dad should. Like you would think the dad would have said something.
No surfing for you.
Yeah. By the way, in other podcast news, I listened to the Ockcast recently.
The Bruce Irons one?
Yeah.
Did we talk about this last time?
No, we talked about the Ockcast, but the Bruce one wasn't published yet.
I thought we talked about it.
The Bruce one was published since you and I last recorded. Oh. And it was interesting. One thing that Aki mentioned in the middle of the cast was that Joel Parkinson, this is going to be his final year on tour as well.
Oh.
And Aki mentioned it as if he wasn't supposed to. He's like... He's talking to Bruce about Bruce going on the QS, which he's not going to do. And then he's like, yeah, well, it's interesting because this is going to be Joel's final year on tour. And then kind of grimaced and goes, oh, maybe I shouldn't have said that. Because he and Joel are buddies, of course, so he knows that personally.
Oh, okay.
But that was an accidental
breaking
slip.
News. You have breaking news.
It is breaking news. Not
you have
as
a breaking news sound drop, like... Joel Parko's last year on tour.
I'll record that one, and then we'll use that as the breaking news drop from now on.
Even with my cold.
Yeah. So you know what? It's not as big as news as Kelly, but... So anyway, the news of Joel retiring isn't as big as the news of Kelly retiring, but it's still a news story.
But it's breaking news.
It is breaking.
Good stuff.
Do you have Dukes and Kooks, must-see moments, all that jazz.
Yeah, well, who do you got?
My must-see moment is Dane's Rejects. This is Dane Reynolds' 20-minute film with all of the rejects that didn't make the cut for Chapter 11.
Yeah, I saw this.
Yeah, by the way, Dane's Rejects are better than anyone else's A-clips.
Right.
It's so sick, man. So it's done. I don't even know how you classify them as rejects. They're A-plus clips. They're edited kind of in the similar lo-fi fashion as his other stuff is. Music's great. It's just a great 20-minute film. So that's my must-see moment.
My must-see moment is the Napkin Apocalypse Instagram.
Is it really?
So good.
Dude, we're both...
It's the best Instagram. If you were to like take all of the surf Instagrams, and I know that Napkin Apocalypse is borderline not surf because it's usually
not
about
surf at all. Actually.
It's usually about the pet and the baby.
Yeah,
it's pretty hilarious.
Do you want to explain to listeners?
Well, they have that like I don't even know what
Dane
kind of terrier that thing is. What kind of dog is it?
Bulldog.
Yeah, it's
right?
a bulldog, and they dress it up.
Who are they?
It's Dane Reynolds and his wife.
Yes.
Is it Courtney?
Yep.
And her Instagram is Napkin Apocalypse. And it's just hilarious because it's creative. You can tell this girl's pretty smart. She's an artist. And she just does these funny things with the dog and the kid. Their new baby, the kid.
Sammy Boo Boo.
Is that his name? Sammy Boo Boo?
Yeah.
The best part's the dog, though. Like, they'll put the dog in a car. Like, it looks like the dog's driving. And they just put the dog in all sorts of
the dog
hilarious positions. And it's just the greatest. That's my must-see moment.
The dog has its own Instagram account, by the way.
Oh, it does?
Yeah. I think it's called Pam Loves Ferrari Boys. Yeah, Pam Loves Ferrari Boys.
I had no idea. I'm missing out.
The dog has 54,000 followers. So, yeah.
Well, that's my must-see moment.
Solid stuff. So your and my must-see moments are both from the world of Dane Reynolds.
Right.
As a side note, this really isn't a news story to me, but everybody advertised it as such. Dane and Craig Anderson have kind of launched their new brand. It's called Former. They haven't launched any clothing or anything like that, but they at least started stickering their boards with the logos.
Oh.
And
is that one Insta I saw of Seal Tooth and I couldn't even read he did that, what do you call that when they
boomerang.
He boomeranged it?
Yep.
And it looked like it was a new Channel Islands logo on the rail, but is that their new logo?
Yeah.
Former, and you couldn't even read it.
No, you couldn't read it, and
it gave me a headache.
Yeah, you know what's funny is
such an old guy.
I am so critical of the imagery of like the branding and the logo that they're using and all that sort of stuff. It kind of looks terrible, but it's Dane, and obviously the fanboys will follow. You and I among them. So, do you have a Duke and a Kook?
Well, I'm looking at this picture of Griffin Gass and his wife.
Yeah, Marissa Miller.
And
what do you say?
I don't know what to say. I don't want to say anything bad. There's not much bad to say, but I guess my kook is the Cartel management for having all the opportunity in the world to do something really cool and failing to do it.
Yeah. Cartel management was my kook before you even started the show, like for the exact same reasons. So, not a fan. My Duke, Sophia Tiari Bartlow. Are you familiar, Sophia?
I'm so saddened by this.
Yeah, so Sophia, daughter of Jericho Poplar.
Jericho's a sweet, sweet lady. I met Sophia once at Malibu, and it was I only met her once, and she was a kind of person. She had a personality that was larger than the room. She dominated, and she was just a very engaging person to be in the presence of, and it's just really, really sad.
Super sad.
So,
third generation water woman, known for her vibrant, bright smile and also
just like her
competitive
mom,
yet graceful skills.
Jericho's just like that, and Jericho's a board of directors member here at Shack. So.
Right, and Jericho was actually the women's champion, I think, in 1976. She was inducted into the Surfer Hall of Fame in 2004. Her grandmother was actually a junior Olympic swimming champion, believe it or not. So this like kind of legacy, Sophia being the third generation in this legacy of water women. She was raised in Long Beach, which is where I was born and partially raised. It's where Dane Reynolds was born. It's where Brett Simpson was born. We've got a legacy of our own going. And Sophia was born there. She was an accomplished competitor. She was 2014 US SUP Tour National Champion, California State Champion for longboarding, State Champion for shortboarding. She passed away in a car crash on the North Shore.
How?
You tell me.
Well, wasn't the guy driving her boyfriend drunk?
Yeah, I heard that it was alleged. I don't know what the details of it were. Was that actually what happened?
I don't know. I hate to be the one that starts throwing around rumor and innuendo, especially something so horrible.
I'll read right here from the Honolulu Advisor. Bartlow was the passenger in a car driven by a 35-year-old male identified as her boyfriend who lost control of the car and hit a large tree. Police said alcohol and excessive speed contributed to the crash. So, yeah. The driver, identified by news outlets as Sage Candelaria, was arrested for the investigation of first-degree negligent homicide, drunken driving, and driving without a license, actually.
Oh, why doesn't he have a license?
I don't know. Super, super sad. I read the story right after it broke and didn't actually know those details. But Sophia Bartlow, for being hometown girl with a really amazing kind of aloha spirit that everybody in Orange County and even maybe Southern California has seen her in the water and known her in some capacity. And yeah, she will be sorely missed.
Man, that's such a bummer.
Yeah, unnecessary.
Don't drive drunk, for God's sakes. And don't get in the car with a drunk driver. Yeah. Take an Uber.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, so it says here, yeah. First-degree negligent homicide, drunk driving, driving without a license. Does that mean his license was revoked or he just didn't have it with him?
No clue.
Man.
Bummer.
Yeah, that's full on nightmare.
On that note, Vulcan Pipe Pro should be running the end of round 3 today and round 4. So hopefully you, the listener, are keeping up with that.
I've got some cool news regarding the Boardroom Show.
Yeah.
The Boardroom International Surfboard Show taking place May 6th and 7th in Del Mar, California at the Del Mar Fairgrounds. All are welcome. It's a surfboard manufacturing industry trade show that's open to the public, consumer-facing, all the latest and greatest surfboards. And as you know, this year we're honoring Al Merrick. Each year we honor a shaper, David. This year we're honoring Al Merrick, legendary Santa Barbara shaper, patriarch of the Channel Islands surfboard brand, and a guy who's made boards for more world champions than anyone. So in the shape-off competition, as a part of the honoring of Al Merrick, we're inviting, or Al in Channel Islands is inviting 10 shapers. So they've nailed down 9 of the shapers.
Okay.
And they've got a really cool international list of shapers. So internationally, from Australia is Gary McNeil, who, if you check out Gary McNeil Concepts, he shapes Rasta's boards. Also from Australia, a guy named Rex Marshall, who makes RM surfboards out of Sydney, I think. Or no, he might be from the Central Coast. From the Basque Country, a Brazilian surfer who shapes all of Gabe Medina's boards, Johnny Cabianca.
Yep.
That's a big one.
Yep.
Super stoked. We also have here in California, Wayne Rich was selected by Channel Islands, Chris Christensen, Ryan Sakel from Huntington Beach. His father had the Huntington Beach surf shop there, Sakel Surfboards forever.
Yeah, it's still there.
Yeah, still there.
Yep. Ryan Sakel's brand is Arise.
Arise, right.
Yeah.
Aryse. I think he lives down where I live.
Yeah, Encinitas, actually.
Yeah, Encinitas. Yeah. Zach Flores, who's a 17-year-old shaper, young gun shaper.
Where's he from?
He goes to high school. He just got his driver's license. He's from Encinitas.
Crazy.
He surfs Seaside Reef all the time.
Rad.
He's kind of in that Ryan Birch vein, super good surfer, really involved shaper, was taught how to shape by Jim Phillips, Jim the Genius Phillips.
Making a lot of different, writing a lot of different styles of boards.
Tons of different boards. I was surfing with him the other day. He was on a longboard. The day before, he was on an ASIM, 5.2.
Yeah.
He's all over the place.
Cool.
I'm missing a couple more. I forget how many I mentioned. But
So when are the dates for the Boardroom Show?
the Boardroom Show, May 6th and 7th.
All right. And it's in Del Mar.
Del Mar, yeah. There's going to
California.
also be a unique surfboards auction, a Motivated Sellers unique surfboards auction, in which there will be a Dane Reynolds autographed Al Merrick board.
Cool.
There will be a board shaped by Al Chapman. We've got a line on some other cool boards, a board shaped by Jackie Dunn, the legendary Pipeline heir apparent to Jerry Lopez.
Awesome.
I don't know if you know Jackie Dunn.
I don't.
Yeah. Anyway, there's going to be a bunch of cool boards. There's going to be some Martin Potter boards that Randy Rarick's putting in.
Sweet. Some TNCs?
They're Glenn Minami's.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Glenn Minami, sort of like that Saint era Twin Fins and Twinsers. And some other cool stuff. A lot of cool boards and stuff. So there'll be an auction. There'll be the honoring of Al Merrick. There'll be laminating by RevChem Composites. They're going to have a bunch of really good laminating seminars. And, of course, there's going to be the Surfer Talks. Surfer Magazine is hosting a series of panel discussions. One of them is on the Channel Bottom, and Nick Carroll, and I think Hamish Graham, and some others are going to be on that panel. There's going to be an Al Merrick tribute panel, which is going to include, they believe, Rob Machado, Taylor Knox, maybe Kalani Robb, Sam George, a few others. There's
Awesome.
there's going to be a panel discussion on big wave surfboard design and the latest and greatest in big wave surfing design, and they anticipate Pat Rawson and some other big wave shapers to be involved in that one. There's some other really cool discussion seminars. The next episode I'll have that stuff in front of me, and
Yeah, it's really
I'll riff on it.
a big show with a lot of different elements going on throughout the
Yeah.
course of the weekend. So
lot
I've got
going
my
on.
weekend blocked out. I will be there for sure, Scott.
Yes,
We'll be doing the kissing hands and shaking babies that we always do.
right. Yes, that'll be scary.
All right.
So anyway,
well,
Boardroom, May 6th and 7th. Come out and visit.
boardroomshow.com.
Boardroomshow.com, which is where you can find this show. Boardroomshow.com.
Everything that we discuss in this show as well.
That's correct.
All the videos,
Videos.
links to articles.
Links to articles.
All right. Well, thanks to the Surfing Heritage and Culture Center for hosting us today. Surfingheritage.org is the website.
Yeah. And what's your Instagram?
At Surf Splendor. Find all of the splendor that is everything that we discuss in this show. The chop hop haircuts, the archives in the studio that we're
What's
sitting
my
in right now.
Instagram?
Boardroom Show.
And what's my Twitter? Boardroom Surf.
Yeah.
At Boardroom Surf is my Twitter. Instagram, at Boardroom Show. Or just go to boardroomshow.com and you can get a bunch of information, including all of these shows. And you can do the same at surfsplendorpodcast.com.
Yes, sir.
And my email, if you want to email the show, it is surftalksandiego@gmail.com. surftalksandiego@gmail.com. Or email David, hello
At surfsplendorpodcast.com.
at surfsplendorpodcast.com. Hello at surfsplendorpodcast.com.
That's it.
And of course, we've got this trip planned, right?
Oh.
We're going on a surf trip. Come join David and I on this surf adventure of a lifetime.
Yeah, it's not officially planned yet, but we are fielding interest from listeners, and I think we've had like I think it's about 6 people have signed up, and I've got their information saved. And we're just gauging interest. We want to do a surf trip. We want to do a more kind of community things based on the community of listeners that for this podcast, and so a surf trip seems like an obvious thing to do.
I wouldn't mind going to Playa Negra. That'd be killer.
Yeah. We're trying to figure out location and dates currently.
Love Playa Negra.
Once we figure that out, we will let people know and figure out pricing and all that sort of stuff. So,
Yeah. So that'll probably happen in the summertime sometime.
yep.
Okay. Well, until next time, adios and aloha.